During your sales interview, your future employer needs to clearly understand how your skills, strengths, and experience will deliver success in the role. And the responsibility to make that connection is 100% on your shoulders. As you now know, your ability to sell yourself during a sales interview is a direct display of your technical ability to be successful in the role. In other words, during a sales interview, your sales skills will be evaluated on your ability to sell yourself before, during, and after the interview. That's why it's critical to employ all three steps of the InterviewACE format: attitude, connection, and evidence. In this session, we'll focus on connection. Whether you're interviewing for your first sales position or looking to get that promotion, every experience you've had before the interview, every yes or no you've ever heard, every customer that has yelled at you or sung your praises, every bit of grit that you have built has helped develop your sales competencies in some way. And there's a really good chance the interviewer has no idea how all that experience makes you qualified for the role. So here's your next sales challenge. To get selected as a top candidate, you must clearly connect your skills to the employer's needs. Own your top three strengths and help the interviewer understand why they will help you in this role, and show how everything you've learned in your previous experience directly ties to the success in this position. This includes volunteer experience and any recent clubs and organizations you participated in, as well as any part-time jobs you may have had. Let's dig into each of these topics. Just like when working with a prospect, before you can make a clear connection between what you offer and how it'll meet the needs of your future employer, you must have a solid understanding of their needs. And that starts with researching the employer and the position. Here's what you're looking for. Start broad by researching the company's website. Find out what their unique selling proposition is, or their USP. In other words, why do they feel customers should buy from them instead of the competition or other substitutes? Now, sometimes finding their USP is really easy, other times not so much. So be prepared to dig a little. While you're researching their website, decipher what emotions the company is trying to appeal to their target audience. Is the company trying to create urgency? Are they selling on price, fear, care, prestige? The emotions you unearth during your research will likely be reflected in the atmosphere during the interview. Next, get an understanding of how customers buy their product or get more information about their product. How is the product promoted to their customers? This information will tell you what prospecting, presentation, and organizational skills you'll need to be successful. For example, if everything on the website drives customers to sign up for a demo, it's likely the company's focus on generating a high volume of leads, and the sales cycle may be really fast. All great information to help you develop your questions for the interview. And finally, you'll need to understand who their target audience is. What do you already know, and what do you need to learn about their target audience in order to be successful in this role? All these points apply to the company's social media as well, with the extra step of researching the social media pages of the person that you'll be meeting with, as well as the entire leadership team. Remember, as a sales professional, you have to be ready for anything, especially during the interview process. That means you have to be ready for the CEO to step into your interview and have a conversation with you. And if you're lucky enough for her to step into your interview, you have to be prepared to have an intelligent and productive conversation with her. Remember, luck favors the prepared. The final step in understanding the employer's needs is to dissect the job description so that you can get a solid understanding of the requirements for the role, the objectives and how they tie into the company's mission and vision, and how your strengths fit into each of these points. In order to do this, take the time to reflect back on your previous experience and write down specific situations that demonstrated the skills and experiences mentioned in the job description. Once you have a clear understanding of what the hiring company needs for this role, your next step is to identify and prepare to articulate your top 3 sales strengths, as well as your leadership strengths and your success drive strengths. To identify your sales-related strengths, write down all the experiences you've had that required you to convince someone or a group of people to do something. Consider everything you've accomplished over the last 5 years, or if there are some significant accomplishments you want to note, such as maybe publishing a book, you can go as far back as the last 10 years. Include details of your planning and execution, and note any challenges you had and how you overcame them. Taking time now to remember specific details and writing them down will help you confidently and comfortably answer questions in an anecdotal format during the interview. which will make you look more confident and make you a top candidate for the role. Next, you want to write your leadership and success drive strengths that you've displayed and developed over the years. Remember to keep things specific to the research you did for this role. Write down examples and details on how you displayed grit in the face of the toughest challenges and how you helped lift others to be successful. And to get a head start on the next step, note what previous experiences connected with the sales and leadership strengths you just wrote down. Now, this exercise can be pretty easy if you have extensive sales experience. However, if you're new to your sales career, it can be kind of difficult. Let's take a look at some examples of how to articulate the sales-related strengths and leadership or success drive strengths you developed in previous roles, even when you don't have any sales experience. Here's an example of a recent college graduate who does not have any direct sales experience, however, volunteered for the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life fundraiser as a team captain. See if you can identify the sales strengths, grit, and leadership strengths in this example. As the team captain of our club's Relay for Life team, I learned the hard way that asking for money can be difficult. So I learned to overcome my fear by asking people questions about how cancer has affected their life. Once we had a connection, it was easier to ask them for a donation or to sponsor our team. Once I figured out the best way to approach sponsorship asks, I helped all our teammates start using these same best practices. In fact, our team broke the record of sponsorship sales 3 years in a row. Pause the video here and see if you can identify where this candidate connects his volunteer experience with grit, sales, and leadership skills. You can see how this candidate developed grit through asking for money and figuring out how to be successful at it. You can also see the sales strengths he built by developing relationships before making an ask, as well as the leadership skills of helping the entire team learn these new best practices. Here's another example of a candidate with no direct sales experience making a clear connection of the strengths he built in high school during an interview for his first job after graduating college. When I was a senior in high school, my softball team sold candy bars door to door to raise money for our uniforms. I learned very quickly that setting a goal for the number of neighbors to visit each day was a critical part of hitting my total fundraising goal. I also learned that having a good relationship with neighbors all year long made it easier to sell candy bars to them during preseason. Again, pause the video here and see if you can identify his connection to grit and sales skills. You can see where the candidate explains how he learned firsthand how important goal setting is and that he was committed to hitting those goals. You can also see where he learned one of the most important sales skills of all, building relationships with a purpose. Your final step in making the connection to why you're the best candidate for the position is to clearly explain how your previous work or volunteer experience has brought you to this interview with this specific company for this specific role. First, start with the list of experiences you put together when identifying your sales strengths in step 2, and expand it to include all experiences you've ever had that required you to deliver a specific outcome. It could be a bartender or server position that you've held. It could also be a manual labor job that you held. It doesn't matter. Anything in between, make sure you list all of these previous roles and how you developed your skills during that time. Once you have a complete list of all your experiences, make notes next to each one that shows the skills you developed in each role and how they directly translate to the skills needed to be successful in this role. This step in the preparation process is critical. Remember, if you don't articulate this connection very clearly for the hiring manager, it's doubtful she'll make that connection on her own. Now there's one more step. Be prepared to provide a verifiable reason for each transition from one job to the next. Be sure to keep the explanation positive and frame your explanation using the WIFM concept. In other words, don't talk bad about your previous employer no matter how tempting it may be. Instead, show how each transition has brought you to this specific point and prepared you to be successful in this role. It's clear to see that a lot of preparation goes into connecting your strengths and experience to the success of the role you're interviewing for. You have to fully understand your employer's needs, understand your top 3 strengths, and connect your work history to the here and now. And that's why you cannot leave making that connection up to the interviewer. Just like in sales, you have to take control of the process and clearly articulate why you're the best person for the job. Okay, you've got some homework to do to prepare for your interview, but rest assured, a little bit of work now goes a long way in helping you stand out as the best candidate for the role. Get working on it now, and I'll see you in the next session.